if you or your loved one end up being detained and subject to mandatory detention because you entered without inspection, you're gonna need to hire a lawyer, file a habeas, and then do your case-by-case determination in front of a judge to get released. Hey guys, so a few months ago, I told you guys that there was a devastating Board of Immigration Appeals decision, Yajure Hurtado, which basically determined that immigrants who entered the US without inspection are now subject to mandatory detention, which completely changed the way the immigration laws have operated for the last 50 years or so. So naturally, lawyers took to the courts, and there have been a series of district court decisions that have basically invalidated this Board of Immigration Appeals decision. The problem is that these decisions have been case by case. So your loved one gets detained, you hire an attorney, the attorney files a habeas petition in the relevant jurisdiction in the court, and then the judge will determine that this statute is improperly being applied and that your loved one is not subject to mandatory detention merely because they entered the US without inspection. But the problem is this doesn't actually change the law or the way it's broadly applied. You need to have the resources to hire an attorney to enforce your rights and to have the proper version of the law applied. Right now, fortunately though, there are a series of circuit court decisions pending. I should rather say circuit court cases pending. And the outcome of these cases are going to create precedent where all of the law enforcement officials in that jurisdiction are going to be required to abide by these rulings, including the immigration courts. So we are hoping within the next few weeks or months, we'll start getting these circuit court decisions that basically change the precedent and the way that this BIA decision is being applied. In effect, invalidating the Board of Immigration Appeals decision. Now, the recent Supreme Court case that made it difficult to create nationwide injunctions is a problem here. We would need to get class certification for this case for any precedent to be applied nationwide, or we're gonna need to wait until this case goes up to the Supreme Court for there to be nationwide precedent. Until that time, we're gonna have to wait for each circuit court around the country to change the rules in that jurisdiction. So at the time of this filming in the middle of November 2025, to the best of my knowledge, there are a series of circuit court cases pending. So there's one in the First Circuit, which covers a lot of New England. There's one in the Ninth Circuit, which is California, West Coast. Third Circuit is the Mid-Atlantic. Fifth Circuit is in the South. 10th Circuit is in the Mountain region. So at least in these areas, there are cases pending that could change the way the laws are applied in that area. For example, if the Ninth Circuit invalidates this BIA decision, anyone who's applying for bond, who's detained and applying for bond, for example, in the California area, which is covered by the Ninth Circuit, the circuit court in California and the Ninth Circuit would say that all of the courts in our district, in our circuit, do not need to abide by Yajure Hurtado. It's invalidated, essentially. So anyway, guys, we're still waiting. Yajure Hurtado is still the law of the land for now until there's a circuit case that changes the precedent or a Supreme Court decision that just changed the way this case is applied nationwide. For now, if you or your loved one end up being detained and subject to mandatory detention because you entered without inspection, you're gonna need to hire a lawyer, file a habeas, and then do your case-by-case determination in front of a judge to get released. My understanding is that there have been dozens of these habeas petitions filed. I created a list this morning and there were more than 30 or 40 across the United States that have been granted, where the judges have determined that this BIA case, Yajure Hurtado, improperly applies the Immigration and Nationality Act, and therefore the immigrant is not subject to mandatory detention. So for now, you have to pay a lawyer case by case. But by the way, guys, my office does not handle these habeas petitions, but I'm just creating this video for your sake. But I'm hoping in the near future there will be circuit court precedent and then maybe eventually Supreme Court precedent. We'll see how that goes. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of today's video. If you need any assistance with an immigration matter, please schedule a consultation with me. My information for booking consults is in the video description below. If you want to stay up to date on immigration policy changes and just what's happening on the ground from an immigration lawyer's perspective, be sure to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another video.